what we're really proud of the fact we sat down with DC Comics right at the beginning of the season, and we brought out all the characters from all the comic books and talked very long and hard about, first of all, who could predate Batman in the period we needed to, and who didn't have an origin story, and that was fascinating, and that's been liberating. There's a beautiful episode 7 that really is the second part to the pilot, really, where Victor Zsasz shows up, and that's a beautiful episode. You know, Harvey Dent is an assistant DA that Jim Gordon works with. There's a few things like that, and there's a few other little misdirects that we do, and there's a few other origin stories that we're drumming up, and it's all very exciting. To be honest, I think we were just happy that we could create a relatable, timeless kind of world, and keep our feet on the ground and keep it realistic. And so, yeah, I mean, any thought of any other show, that means I'd have to watch some other shows. I mean, I haven't had time for anything right now. So if we keep it real, I think it's going to be hard to do, because we're 18 years, I think, before Batman. So it's, I think it's going to be kind of hard to pull that off. I mean, we're a period show, basically.
What did you?
No, we do explore the relationship that was never ended correctly with Montoya, and how that affects our relationship with Jim. And we also follow Barbara through some really dark moments. And I think everybody attempts to reinvent themselves at some point, but you can't keep building on a house with a bad foundation, and she'll have to deal with that foundation at some point, and that's going to get very interesting.
One series.
Yeah, I think some of the origin stories. I mean, I think what we're doing with Edward Nygma right now is great, because he's a brilliant. Yeah, I mean, he's like a little on the spectrum, brilliant, but he's brilliant. He's wanton. He's excited, but he's a lonely character, and I'm very excited about how we're going to navigate his world. I mean, because what goes so wrong with him, what could turn a man into arguably one of the greatest villains in this canon of work. So keep watching for that one.
Because Heath Ledger Joker was strong and almost sacred, how will you handle the Joker?
Very, very carefully. I mean, the origin story of the Joker's changed a few times, so there is some leeway. Because the great thing about it, it's like old medieval plays. They would change based upon the village they were in, the time of year. That's the great thing about the Joker story. Is of course it changes with legend, because people talk. Scared people talk. He becomes legend. So that legend can shift a little bit, and we're going to go right back to the origins of that character.
There was a tidbit of the clean joke in the pilot with the comedian.
No, that was a misdirect.
Okay.
I shouldn't even tell you that. The reason he wears the mask, the reason where that all came about, is because it doesn't matter who's under the mask, as long as somebody's representing that. Batman is not a person; it's an ideal. And it's the same thing with villains. Their revolution is against the city. He's just the nemesis that they will have later is different, but their rise is much more about them rising above the corruption of their city and trying to get noticed. When everybody's crazy, when the lunatics are running the asylum, the greatest lunatic will win.
We do. We talk a lot about our relationship, because it's really important for Ben's character, I think, to have Barbara. It's a good sort of sounding board for his internal ideas, because obviously when he's out on the beat, he has to be Mr. Detective, and he has to be a certain type of man. And I think when he comes home to Barbara, he gets to let that down a little bit and reveal to her, himself, and the audience a little more about his sort of inner turmoil or what's going on with the particular whatever story of the week it is. I'm not going to give anything away. So I think that their balance and what we create with those two characters is really important. I think they both have secrets that they're hiding from each other, and you know, as we all know, if you hide secrets in relationships, eventually those secrets will kind of wear you down. So I think they are both going through a lot at present in their life. Barbara's got a lot of history, Montoya's part of that history, and as we go through this series, we sort of see that those hidden depths clash with each other with their relationship, and it kind of rips them apart, but you know, you never know where it's going to go. Barbara is she's a real driven woman. Like she doesn't like to fail. She potentially gets addicted to things, and right now she's really addicted to this relationship with Jim, and he's a good guy. I mean, if anyone can save Barbs, it's going to be Jim. So she needs this to work for herself as well as, you know, for him and for their relationship. She really needs him, so that's why she keeps fighting.
So Jim's Gordon daughter will be named Barbara as well.
Maybe. I mean, we
because of
Batgirl. Yeah. I mean, we might never even get to that point. You know, like we have no idea what's coming up. Right now, we're kind of really early on. I mean, they're just fiancés.
I think the most important thing is something that Bruno and Danny and myself have talked about was real honesty. But the thing is, I've been cast as the common man in many respects. I think that's something that has been realised before by brilliant Michael Dock. Well, not so much Michael Dock, but so Michael Caine. He represented sort of the common man slightly more from his background. So the thing that we concentrated on was the truth of the situation. And allowing it to develop and have the courage for it to develop over the fingers crossed with the years that we shoot the series. So you watch the development of him. So it's the truth in bringing up a young, damaged child from a militaristic background. So that's something that hasn't been explored. We don't know that much about Arthur. We don't know that his key driving forces are also rage from himself, things that we hope to discover later on. So it's an honour, but it's something I take very, very seriously, because there have been so many fine actors preceding me, and will continue after me as Messiah. Jesus Christ, no pressure. You know what I mean? You're allowed to say.
Let's see, I would say Penguin rediscovers his love of umbrellas. I can say that. But also, yeah, he just, he's working his way into this. He comes back to Gotham, all engines blazing, and like he's just ready to take the power that that's really been driving him this whole time. And he meets back up with Fish Mooney, and their relationship just gets more and more complicated as we go along. Yeah, well, all I can say is like his greatest strength is to endear himself to people, and that's the most fun thing to play too. Is that he makes himself indisposable, or he makes himself very, very important to people, and then uses that relationship to work against the other person. So then those groups are then coming at each other, and there's one person in the middle, and that's him. And that's his whole sort of like, that's how he, in a way I would say that's how he's creating chaos, and that's, I would say, like his superpower, in a way, is being able to manipulate situations for his own advantage and play people against each other. Yeah, he's a manipulative little bastard. Really intense on trying to bring to my own performance. Like you can't, like you watch them and it's just like they're having the time of their lives. And I want that to, that's what I'm working on personally. It's like having that come out, and having that be part of the character.
Is the tie related to what your next victim will be?
I'm not gonna say anything about that.
So it wasn't a conscious decision. That being said, it's great to have come off of a cop show and bring that skill set and that mentality to the show, and to try and play it honestly, play it truthfully, make the police work reasonably, accurate, sort of. It's a lot of fun, and Donal Logue has played cops and bad guys before too, so our partnership is good. It feels like two cops. Story, he is a military veteran. He served overseas, decorated war hero. So he comes in with a real warrior's mentality to Gotham, that he's going to clean it up. He's very morally rigid in that way. Whereas Gotham itself has fallen apart and has really no regard for morality whatsoever. And so I think that mentality is really fascinating. And definitely working on a show like Southland, where we were dealing with actual law enforcement, you get a sense that a lot of cops come in with that attitude and need to have that attitude in order to do their jobs. So I find that interesting. So the lies start to sort of layer on top of each other. The lies he's telling himself, the lies he's telling other people, including his fiancée Barbara, and secrets he's hiding, and it's wonderful. So it'll only get more intense. I mean, and by the way, we introduce Arkham in the next episode. So not it's not fully about Arkham, but Arkham is a major piece of the puzzle as to what's happening in Gotham, and it starts in episode 4, and then we'll go into it further later in the season.
And obviously, we're doing something that's a little bit different. I think Harvey is a bit more comedic in our version than maybe in the books, but I always feel pretty free anyway, because you're going to start something, you might as well make it your own, and then if you're lucky enough and it goes for a while, then you become a version that people have to dress themselves to, so I'm just struggling to do the best job that I possibly can with this incarnation of Harvey Bullock. Well, when you first sign on for something, you don't really know exactly what's coming down the pike, so the only thing I could go by was my conversation with Bruno Heller that covered a bit of that. Like, we're looking for someone who can handle a bit of dark stuff, who can handle comedy a bit. And I had done a lot of comedy for a while, and then I got completely away from it and was just doing Sons of Anarchy and Vikings and things like that. And I was having a really good time just straight into the dark side. And so coming back to Bullock, which has been great, it's both, but I find it's challenging to balance it. So I think I'm kind of learning while I'm earning on this one a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, ultimately what's fascinating about Batman for people maybe isn't the vigilante thing, it's just the journey into the dark side of the human nature. Like, why were True Detective magazines so popular? And even to me, among even people like I work with, or people on a crew, or my mom's friends or something, they're like, I just stay home all night and watch Forensic Files and First 48. Like, what is it about us that are so drawn to the darker side of human nature? And then conversely, like, man, wouldn't it be great if someone slapped on a mask and went and took care of this really dark stuff for us and protected us from this? And that's where I think the success of things like the Batman mythology, I think that's where it comes from. It's a deep-seated psychological thing that's hard to describe, But I like playing it because it's an interesting chance to journey into a world that otherwise you wouldn't. One thing I really love about them, there's a couple of things. One is that we get a little bit more backstory on Bullock, a bit flashes back to explain a little bit about how he got to where he is now, and then in the recent episodes that we've been doing, I feel like the kids have really gotten to run free a lot. That Bruce Wayne and Alfred have kind of get to venture outside of Wayne Manor for, the world just started opening up. More people got involved, and I think it was nice that it was kind of in a weird way Jim and Harvey kind of walking shoulder to shoulder and dealing with this stuff, but now we're fully starting to integrate the kind of awesome ensemble cast that we've put together. So. What happened was I met Bruno before they had a Gordon.
Right.
And Bruno said, I always liked your work. I think you can handle the light and the dark stuff. And I left that meeting going, man, I think this is good. I think Gotham is happening. Then I didn't hear anything. And then I heard vaguely, like, they have to set a Gordon first. I was never going to be considered for Gordon. It was always part of that conversation that Bullock was like a mentoring figure. He was older, that they're bringing Gordon in to be young. And so when the internet rumor that I was playing Gordon came out, I was like, no, that That never was the case.
And you never won.
And then there's some guy who was a kind of a, I can't remember what the guy's name was, who broke the story or something. He goes, I know it was. I know. I'm like, you know someone in the office who knew I had a meeting probably and that the meeting went well, but it never for Gordon. But then part of me was like, wow, I don't know what's happening with this job. And then once they got Ben McKenzie, then everything got set up. But I wasn't confused about that at all. I just knew that people were, you know. Because I always knew that this was a young Jim Gordon. And I'm 24, but I'm old as dirt. Like I can't, and my sister worked with Ben on Southland, and that was a huge thing for me. Was my sister was friends with Ben and really liked him a lot from a working environment, not just running around town or something. And so I knew he was a good guy. Ben had a great reputation, and he's a really great actor. So I was excited to work with Ben.
What's been the big